All right, game week. Guys are excited. I'm excited. It was good to see Will respond the way that he did, kind of coming off the first team kind of session in front of the fans, kind of went 1 for 3. Then he responded the next day, really kind of went 8 for 8 ever since then. But that's just kind of how he's built. That's the reason why he's here. So it's encouraging to see him respond that way. Excited for him to kind of make his debut at the bank. We had a great kicking session at the bank earlier today. He's locked in and ready to go for it. So with that, game week, we're excited.
What did you learn about him specifically after he missed those couple and then came back the next time? What about him that
I think the biggest thing is that he was able to self-correct immediately. He realized his plant was just a little bit too deep, and as a result, that kind of affected his ball striking and where he was striking the ball at. Came back, watched the tape, understood it. We worked on some drills, and it was immediate fix for him. And the one thing about him is that he really, truly never really loses his confidence. He always has it. He knows who he is. He knows how he operates. While the entire practice is going on, while field goal might have been at the beginning of the period, beginning of practice, he's constantly working, constantly finding ways to really sharpen his tools and sharpen his mechanics. He's never really a guy to stand and sit around for the next hour and a half or just watching his teammates go to work. He feels that's an opportunity for him to find a way to go and get better. So as a result, it's just those small, little meticulous things and really being attentive to the details that truly helps him.
So for rookies on offense and defense, it's always kind of understood that when you get to the NFL, it's a different level. For kickers, what's different about being a kicker in the NFL versus the college?
I think obviously the ball is much different. It's a bigger ball, bigger surface area. Really, probably a much more easier ball to hit, honestly, just because of the surface area on it that you are hitting. But it's the professionals. You could say the environment. You could say the pressure situations. Obviously, you're 1 of 32. But outside of that, really, truly, that's about it. It's all mental at the end of the day. Between the years, when you start talking about the specialist position, kicking, punting, even long snapping, is maintaining, having that confidence. Are you able to respond when things aren't going your way? Are you able to self-correct when you feel like you mishit one? Are you really not truly in the true groove of feeling as though you're making good contact with the football? Are you able to self-correct and kind of get back on track?
Yeah, where do you see the punter competition at this point?
I think it's in a good spot right now, and I think right now I've had a great talk with Seth Vernon, and I'm kind of doing a disservice to him as Mr. Wright is taking the majority of the holding, kind of those full team reps. Mr. Wright has really been the holder in all of those situations, so I need to give him more opportunities to allow him to gain some confidence and a good chemistry with Will. Just being that holder. Obviously, punting is important, but being a holder for a rookie kicker is probably one of the utmost importance. So I really need to give him that opportunity just to hold a little bit more, so Will can build confidence with him.
Now, when you talk about pressure, is kicking in the SEC as good of a preparation for that as you're going to get in the NFL, or is there still a difference between the SEC and NFL?
Absolutely. You talk about kicking usually in front of 100,000 in the highest of situations, pressure situations. Obviously, working for a coach like Nick Saban, he requires the most. He expects the most out of his players, and with that adds another element to it, especially in terms of you got some coaches who are hard pressed on specialists, while other coaches are a little bit more lenient and a little bit more patient with them. And so when you get a coach who's really on top of you all the time, and that's really who Will is he wants to be pressed, he wants to be challenged. He doesn't like a coach to just say it's pat him on the back when things aren't going good and say that's okay. He wants coaches to mother F him and get in his face and challenge him and let him know when he's not having a good day, because he's built up a callous just kind of being in Alabama for 5 years, of where he's got tough skin and he really appreciates that.
What was the process of finding Seth Vernon just in the first place? Like, how did you guys?
Yeah, that was a long process that we kind of went through, Alex, just in terms of who's out there. You have guys, whether it's Nick Novak or it's Carney, who do all of these camps and these competitive camps. And so, we get representation, whether we go out there ourselves or we get a scout to go out there, check it out, see who's kind of performing, who's kind of matches what we're looking for. And, through these camps, you kind of pick out really who you like, who you don't like, and kind of simmer it down from there. And that's kind of how we kind of came up on Seth Vernon. And, unbelievable leg talent. I think for him, it's just becoming better better with situations. You know, he's raw just in terms of, you know, what type of situation is it, what type of ball do I truly need to hit, because each situation requires you to hit a specific ball. You know, you don't want to kick a 65-yard ball to a Khalif Raymond or to a Kayshawn Nixon. You know, now you out-punted the coverage. You know, maybe it's going to be more so of a 45-yard ball, hang it up and see if we can force a fair catch. And so you got to be able to hit specific type of balls for specific type of weather. You know, who's the returner back there? What are the weather conditions? You know, what's the game flow looking like? What's the field position? And so with that, you know, it's just a lot of thinking that kind of gets involved, and it's not just punting the football.
Specific to Ryan Wright, how have you seen his progression from last year to now?
I think, you know, the biggest thing is that we've really been keying on with Mr. Wright is, you know, those going in balls, those sky situations. We talked about it last year between the Cincinnati, the Chicago, and the Denver game. We kind of found ourselves in these situations where it was a possible go for it, 4th and 3, or a possible attempt a long field goal, or we put the punter out there, see if we can pin the opponent deep in territory and force them to drive long, and we just didn't show up in those situations. And so that's something we've been really focusing on, while also focusing on really, you know, ball contact, ball consistency, and placing the ball where we want it to.
Will you split those reps in the preseason, or are you going to give each guy a game?
Yeah, the idea is to really split it. You know, it's really hard to say, hey, you take the first quarter, you take the second quarter, because we could not punt for the first quarter. Next thing you know, we punt 3 times in the second quarter, and one punter is now taking every single rep. So, you know, the idea is to give each guy equal opportunity. Maybe we'll rotate them each punt, they'll alternate. You know, which will present much different situation. You know, one guy could get a backed up situation, one guy could get a going in sky ball situation, another guy could get a open field type of situation. So it'll be good, you know, throwing those different situations at guys and see how they respond to them.
What conversation's been like with Flo and Kevin about potentially using starters on the kickoff?
For sure, that's a conversation that we've had, and we're still kind of working through that. You know, in terms of what's the roster going to look like, what's the personnel going to look like, you know, guys' job responsibilities. And so there's been good conversation with it. And, you know, quite frankly, you know, starters have come to me, you know, engaging with me about wanting to be on that play now that you really eliminated the 40 yards of running before you actually even start making contact with guys. And so that's been encouraging to see. And, you know, the funny thing about it is the more and more you work this new dynamic kickoff, you realize how creative you can get. You realize the can of worms that it can open up, and how much of a week-to-week personnel change it can really be. You know, on one end you get really, really excited. On another end, you know, you can get a little bit timid at the same time too. So, you know, as we continue to work and we continue to get more reps, it's going to be an interesting play. So I'm excited to see how it's going to end up playing out here coming up.
What percentage of your creativity will you see on Saturday?
100% of it. All of it. It's going to be out there.
Hey, Matt, what do you remember about your first NFL game experience as a player?
I think the biggest thing that I noticed about my experience was, I think I got a little too caught up in really the crowd, the noise. It was kind of like a wow moment for me, kind of realizing just the speed of the game, you know, how much coaching is really involved, how much adjustment is involved on the sideline, and how in tune you truly got to be, and really how much more physical of a ball game it truly is from the collegiate level. And, you know, guys aren't really truly taking plays off like that. I mean, guys are going at 100 miles an hour nonstop, and so you got to make sure that you're locked in on every single snap, because it's, you know, slow correct decisions are wrong in this league, and that's probably what I realized the most. Is that, you know, one guy can get a step on you. If you're a step too late, if you think too slow, even if you are making those correct decisions, if it's slow, you know, you're going to be wrong.
Having worked with so many players that, you know, are trying to make the team on special teams, for example, what's your kind of message to those guys going into the preseason game?
Less thinking, more reacting, and that's what I preach. We talk about it all the time. You know, I'm not looking for a guy who's out there thinking too much, overthinking. You know, just go out there. You know, we've done enough reps, we've repped it enough. Just go out there, and more times than not, you're gonna be able to use your instincts and react to it, and more than likely, you're gonna end up being right. And it always puts you a step ahead when you do go about it that way. So just play with your hair on fire. Any mistakes, any mental errors, anything like that, that's going to fall on me at the end of the day. We'll look at the tape, come on Sunday, and if there is a mental error out there, you can put it on me. But what I don't want to see is out there playing slow.
I'm sure it's fairly limited experience down there at US Bank. Any impressions of the new turf or how that felt for your guys on it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we had a good conversation about that, and it's definitely a lot more bouncy, a lot more springy. Guys like the way it felt. It definitely has more grip to it, which is encouraging. So, they feel good about their plans. They feel good, really about taking the steps from a punt and a kicking standpoint. So I think it was a good change.
Matt, you use Metellus everywhere on special teams. What's it been like for you to watch Flo's using him on defense?
It's been a beautiful sight to see, kind of being at special teams. It's kind of like been a road to passage in a way to where you groom these guys and then you send them on their way to their expanded defensive roles. And it's been I expected nothing less from Metellus, being that versatile player that he is. And, it's great for him to be in a Brian Flores defense where he's able to use his versatility to line him up on the edge or use him as a stack back or use him in the deep portion of the field. And, and that's really what it's all about at the end of the day is, how can I maximize a player's capability and ability as a coach? And, Flo is doing an unbelievable job of that, of using Metellus' strengths and really trying to find a way to expose weaknesses of offenses.
What was your observation just from the Hall of Fame game and how those kickoffs went?
My impression was that you saw some good, you saw some bad, but I tried to take light of it just because I don't think that's a true indicative of what is truly going to look like come the regular season. And so, you try to take small parts and pieces of it and think like, yes, this is what it's going to look like, and then large pieces of it is like, I don't see it playing out this way. But what you can see is that it's going to be physical. The returner is going to be involved heavily in terms of taking hits, with multiple bodies on them. It's not going to be just one guy making a play. It's going to be holes closing a lot faster. It's going to be a lot of gap responsibility that's going to take place from a kickoff standpoint. And you have to do an unbelievable job of block recognition at the end of the day. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing that's going to be a takeaway when you start getting into the season is recognizing blocks, where a block's coming from, how do I need to fit this specific scheme up, and if one guy is wrong, then it's going to be big explosive plays all over the field. Cool.